Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real, and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. Have you ever wondered what's the difference between trademarking and copywriting, or what trademarking actually is, what the process involves, perhaps what it actually means for you to protect your brand by trademarking for the long term? I'm so excited to introduce this week's guest, Lisa Wynn. After leaving her legal career and launching, growing and selling an online toy store, Lisa Wynn decided to combine her two great loves, business and law, to become a trademarks attorney. Since founding her firm, Wynn Trademarks, Lisa spends her days advising small businesses on trademark law and the trademarking process. Her main focus is to help business owners make informed and strategic decisions to give their brand the legal protection it deserves. Hi Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi Rachel, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about Lisa, some of the things that aren't on your website or your clients don't know about you.
Well, I guess they know that I'm a trademark attorney, but they might not know that I've got three boys in their teenage years now. So
Wow.
they're all big and take up a lot of space and they smell a lot. But they're good fun. And I like to cook a lot, mostly because I've got a big eaters in my house, so everyone appreciates my cooking, so that's always nice.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you like the meal cooking or the baking side of things?
Oh, a bit of both.
Both.
Yeah. I don't like what I call Tuesday night cooking, where it's just like you just got to get something on the table quickly. I like to do like a full-on big thing and have 30 people over and do a big thing. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Spend all afternoon sort of
lovely. Yeah. Okay. So how did your journey begin and now you're a trademark lawyer? Did you always want to be a trademark lawyer?
No, I kind of came to it accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
I was working as a criminal lawyer for government when I had my kids. Oh. So I was doing that, and that was like really, really good work, but it's quite full on, and they're, in a hurry for you to be back full time, and that sort of work-life balance was a little bit tricky. So when my youngest was quite small, when I was actually on maternity leave with him, I started an online toy store because I always knew that I wanted to have a business, and I had no clue what I was going to do. But, at that stage of my life, I was just buying toys a lot. So I just did that, and I started that up, ran that for a few years, and I was doing, went back to my lawyer job and was doing that and packing orders at night, and did that for a while, and that sort of introduced me to the whole community of business women and business mums, and I just love that. I love people, and just naturally sort of people would ask about trademarks a lot, and at that stage I was sort of knew a bit but wasn't working in that area at all. But I sort of realized, oh, hang on a minute, I could do the specialist training and do that, and then I could do that as a business and not have to go back to my normal job. So it just sort of happened that way, and it started off quite quickly because I already had a lot of business contacts when I started. So I just sort of I probably did all the wrong things as far as branding and everything goes when I started, because I had clients before I had a business name, like before it all had to just like happen really quickly just so I could start servicing these clients. So it was sort of a bit accidental in the end.
I think a lot of businesses start like that. So don't beat yourself up that whole brand thing. You built what you did, I guess, subconsciously was build a brand before you had it, like, you know, and that's amazing. Obviously worked well for you.
I think I've been lucky. I think me is really been the main part of the brand.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
most of
100%.
my clients have come to me through referrals and things
Yeah.
like that. So it has been more me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And I think I might, after that sort of segment, I might know the answer to this already, but what's your favorite type of client to work with?
Oh, I do work with a lot of mum businesses, and I love working with just creative women who are starting up very cool things. And I mean, I've got clients, all kinds of businesses, and that's just my favorite bit really is
Yeah.
when they, I talk to someone and they tell me what they're doing, and I go, oh, that is so cool. Like who comes up with these ideas? Like,
Yes.
very, very clever people. Yeah.
I can 100% relate to that. I think that's my favorite part too, because like for me, my thing is pretty predictable. Like my journey's been pretty boring, really. Obviously I get to be creative in what I do, but the types of businesses that people are starting and the guts that it takes to create those things blows my mind. And it's so exciting. So exciting to be a part of their journey and help to get them on their way. So
That's
I love
right.
that. I can really
Yeah.
relate to that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get down to some nitty gritty of your expertise that you can share with us. I think there's a lot of kind of murky waters around trademarking, what it actually is, the terminology, especially when you kind of, you come into this business landscape and you're thrown into a lot of things. I talk about marketing specifically quite often because that marries so closely with branding. But when it comes to trademarking, what's the actual difference between trademarking and copywriting?
Yeah, so trademarks and copyright are two different kinds of intellectual property. So they're quite different. They protect different things. The other ones that people might have heard of are patents and design registrations. And then trade secrets is another one. So there's all these sort of different types of intellectual property. Copyright protects creative works, so things like written works or artistic works. So copyright will protect things like books or films or photos that people have taken. So like your brand, if someone is creating your brand for you, they're designing it and creating it, that's going to be protected by copyright as a creative artistic work. And the great thing with copyright is that you don't have to pay for that protection. You don't have to register it anywhere. It's an automatic kind of protection. So that one's really good, and it lasts for the creator's whole lifetime plus 70 years. So, you've got it for a long time. It doesn't sort of run out in 5 years or something like that. So trademarks are more about protecting your brand, and they can protect anything that is part of a brand. So that could be the name, or it could be the logo, or it could be tagline, product names, service names. Businesses often have different versions of their logos, and they might get trademarks for each of them. So what a trademark gives a business is, say they're doing a trademark for their business name, it gives them the exclusive rights to use that name in Australia. They are a country by country thing. So in relation to whichever products or services are listed on the trademark. So Coca-Cola would have the exclusive rights to use Coca-Cola, the name Coca-Cola, in relation to drinks and soft drinks, and they would have much wider protection as well, because they dabble in all sorts of different things. But that's sort of the gist of it. And the thing with, I guess, one of the main differences is that for there to be copyright infringement, someone has to actually have copied your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you don't need that for a trademark infringement. Someone could innocently come up with a similar name or a similar looking logo. They may never have even heard of your business or seen your business. And it would still be an infringement of your trademark, even though it was completely innocent how that happened.
Okay. And is that like, what's the benefit, I guess, in investing when something's got an automatic copyright? Say, for example, say your designer gives you a license to use the design for the logo, right? So they retain the copyright, or you purchase the copyright, whatever.
Yep.
What would be the benefit in trademarking that design when technically you already own the copyright?
Yeah, it is because of that extra protection of there not needing to be somebody having copied you. It's giving you that exclusive rights to use a design that looks like that for your kind of products, regardless of yeah. But you're right, like you already have some protection. And so often when my clients come to me, and often when people think about trademarks, they think about their logo as the first, they're like, I've got to protect my logo.
Yeah.
And normally I will say to them, actually, the most important thing you need to protect is your name.
Yeah.
To normally do that as the first thing, because we've already got some protection for the logo.
Right.
So let's do the name, because you really have no protection for the name. And that's something that a lot of people get a bit mixed up about, because they've registered their business name with ASIC.
Yes.
Which you have to do.
Yes.
And the ASIC website is a bit misleading. I think the language they use, they talk about the availability of the name, and yes, it's available, and so you can register it. But they're not very good at explaining that actually you have to register it, but it doesn't mean you own the name. It doesn't mean you have any rights to the name. It doesn't mean you can't get sued for using the name. Like it doesn't give you any rights to the name at all. So normally that's the first place I would start with someone, is we'd say, okay, let's do your name first. If you can afford to do your logo as well, then we can do that as well. But lots of the people I'm working with have a budget that they have to consider. So it's more a matter of working out what's most important to start with. And often that's not going to be the logo. Yeah,
that makes total sense. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's a key thing that most business owners don't like. They register their name and they think that they own it, when really they're just paying a fee to be able to trade under that name.
Yeah, the government really just wants to have a list of all the people who are running businesses.
Yeah.
So that if a business called Dodgy Plumbing is out there being dodgy, an ordinary person can go into ASIC, look it up, and see, that's Joe Bloggs who runs that business, and there's their address. And I can now, get my lawyer or whoever to write and try and get my money back. And that's really why that register exists.
Wow.
For that purpose. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. I might just mention, often we will start with business name trademarks first, but it's not always possible to get a trademark for the business name. So there are a lot of rules that your trademark has to pass before it can be registered.
Yeah.
And names like word marks are often harder to get registered. So sometimes we will do a logo where we can't get the trademark for the name. And so the logo is the next best option for what we can get protected.
That's interesting. And as in my case, like, because I know that that was with some of my programs that we worked together with, by adding like your personal brand name distinguishes the words enough, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. One of the common reasons why trademarks don't go through is because they're not distinctive enough.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of a tricky test. IP Australia, there's a bit of subjectivity in how they apply the test. So, if it's a really obvious one, like Sydney Plumbing, that's not distinctive at all. And the person applying for that won't be able to get the trademark for that. So we would just not even try and work out another option for it. But there are a lot of names that are a bit more in the grey area of, it might go through or it might not go through. What's our plan going to be to sort of give it the best chances of success?
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's, I guess, why somebody would come to somebody like you rather than try and go through the process themselves and be disappointed at the other end.
Yeah. Well, it is about 30%, I think, of all trademark applications don't go through.
Wow.
So, but the actual application process itself is super simple. I often tell people that an 8-year-old kid could sit down and lodge a trademark application. That bit is easy. And so people are often a bit surprised when months later they get the letter saying that there's a problem and that it's not going to go through, because they sort of thought, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
They thought they've got it, but haven't sort of realized there's a lot more to the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let's clear this up once and for all. Can you explain the difference between the little R in the circle and the little TM?
Yes. So the R in the circle does refer to a registered trademark. So you have to be registered to use that, and you can only use it on your thing that you actually have registered.
Right.
So if you've registered your business name, you can use it next to your business name. If you've registered your logo, you could put it on your logo. You've got to be quite careful about where you put it. You can't just start plonking it on things all over your business, because it's an offence, a criminal offence, to be putting that R on things that aren't registered.
Okay.
So the TM, on the other hand, it does stand for trademark, but it means that you're using that thing as a trademark, and that trademark may or may not be registered. So the tricky thing with it is that there is actually there's actually a thing that is unregistered trademarks. So when you start your business and you start to use your brand, you are using those things as a trademark already. You just don't have it registered. So it's a common law trademark, basically. So you are still using it that way. And you're allowed to use the TM on those things, even if they're not on the register, on the official register.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that makes sense. But it doesn't mean you're actually protected for anything.
No. So I did hear some lawyers refer to the TM as meaning totally meaningless years ago, which I thought was a really clever one. It's not totally meaningless. What you're doing is you're just telling the world that you are using that phrase or that logo as a trademark.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do it where their trademark might not be distinctive enough to pass the test for registration just yet, but they really want to discourage other people from using it, because they hope that down the road they might be able to get it registered. And by putting the TM on it, it just acts as a bit of a deterrent. Just most people don't know what it means, so they go, better not use that. So and if you if you trademark your name but not your logo, you could put the R on your name and then the TM on your logo if you
Okay.
really wanted to.
Yeah.
And another area where it comes up quite a bit is when businesses are exporting their products. If they've got their trademark registered in Australia, allowed to use the R in Australia, but may not be allowed to use it in other countries where they don't have the trademark registered.
Yeah.
So they need to put on their packaging the TM, because otherwise they might get in trouble in those other countries for having the R on there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
That's all
Makes
right.
sense. All right. So trademarking, I feel, seems to have the same kind of general attitude projected towards it as branding for those, I guess, in the earlier stages of business. I'll invest if my business takes off. Like I'll just see how it goes, and then I'll invest because I'll have some money behind me. But when is the best time to invest in trademarking?
I think it is quite a personal decision, because I think it depends on how comfortable with risk you are. And I do applications for lots of people who haven't launched their business yet, aren't even going to launch it, for another 6 months or a year, but they've got the name that they love, and they want it, and they want to just know that it's theirs.
Yeah.
And they know they're going to sleep better at night having it, and they also want to know that it's theirs before they go and spend a bunch of money on their branding and websites and all that other stuff. So I work with lots of people like that, but I do also work with lots of people who are just like, if I have to change my name, I'll change my name. No big deal. I'll wait and make sure I'm actually making money out of this business and see what takes off. And and they do come back, years later. It all went, this particular product went, really great, and now the whole business has changed, and so this is what I'm doing now, and now I'm ready to trademark because their business is at a point where they know where it's going. And I think I mentioned that the trademark, we have to list on the trademark what products or services you want to be covered for. And so if you're not sure about that, if you're early enough in your business that you're not really sure what your service is going to look like or what products you're going to be selling, then it is going to be too early at that stage as well. But I think there's all these different factors to sort of consider. And I do think if you've invested in your branding, you've spent money on this asset for your business, and then trademarking is that next step to protect that asset. So the more you're putting into your branding and your marketing and all that kind of stuff, then the more important it is to protect it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, with people had the attitude of, I can just change the name. The thing is about building a brand is that you build your reputation on that name, and people recognize that name, and they have some kind of feeling towards that name, whatever it is. And to have to go and change it could be very detrimental potentially. So
absolutely. And I think people usually underestimate how much it would cost them to go through that process as well.
I know.
So,
I get that.
Like
I talk to people who the rebrand is not just the investment in the rebrand, it's the rollout. Like it's that all of that, and then also the shifting and re-educating the audience. And it's big.
It is, yeah. So that's why the people who are hiring professionals to help them with all those sorts of things are going to be more likely to see the value in getting a trademark, as opposed to someone who's just whipped up their own logo on a Tuesday night, and then they've stuck their website up, and like I've done this. I know,
Yeah,
lots of
yeah,
people do that when
yeah,
they're starting out,
yeah,
but it's sort of their, the actual cost of them changing that is not going to be as high. It's going to be a lot of time
yeah,
and reputation, as you say.
yeah,
That it's the cost is usually a bit more than what they think it's going to be, even if they have done everything themselves.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. In wrapping up, do you have any sort of gold nuggets or advice for someone who's maybe in those early stages and feeling really overwhelmed with all of those things that they're being told that they should do or they shouldn't do, like Auntie Jane saying she should be doing this and, Cousin Millie suggesting this? And how can they prioritize and to have prioritize all of these things that are in their head to have the very best outcome for their business from a brand protection point of view?
I think, well, I've got two tips. One is that you really need to do trademark checks early
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
And actually, when you register your business name with ASIC, you have to tick a box that says you've checked trademarks. Now, I know most people just tick the box, pay their, 38,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and off they go.
Yeah.
That is super duper important. You need to check. And IP Australia have a few tools on their website to make it easier to
Oh,
check.
great.
It's a bit, I don't know. I think there's one thing to do a check and then you get all the results of the check, and then it's sometimes not easy to work out what all that means.
Yeah.
But at the very least, have a go yourself to begin with, to just see what does come up, because you might find straight away that the name you wanted or the logo or whatever, something similar is already there and already registered by somebody else. And then you can just cross it off your list of options before you go too far down the road. So that's number one. And number two is, I would recommend having a chat to somebody like me, a trademark attorney, early on, even if you know you don't have the budget to go ahead with a trademark then.
Yeah.
Having that chat early on can help with things like knowing whether there might be issues with registering your name, whether it's really going to be more your logo that you might be looking at protecting, whether there are any other things that you have to think about. You can get a quote, just getting a bit of general information and a bit of a strategy for, what you might want to be protecting, and knowing how much that might cost can then sort of help you just to plan for that. You've got that information then, and you can go, okay, well, I need to first do this, and this before I can get to trademarking. But at least you can plan for it and work out when that right time is going to be to do it.
Yeah, I love that. That's very wise advice. Thank you.
Excellent. No worries.
So switching back to the personal hat now to wrap up, I have some fun rapid fire questions for you. So I'm going to ask what your favorite is and say a word, and then it's just whatever comes to mind. Okay. So what's your favorite app?
ClickUp.
Oh,
it's my second brain.
Nice.
I couldn't actually, before I started using it, I couldn't sleep very well. So it has saved my life.
Love it. Shout out to ClickUp. Thank you. Favorite time of day?
That little window in the evening where everyone is home from all their activities and before we all go to bed.
Oh yeah, the peaceful
teenagers that might just get a 15-minute window.
Yeah, nice.
When everyone's home.
Oh, that's lovely. All right, favorite exercise?
Walking.
Nice. Habit or ritual?
Cups of tea. I do enjoy a cup of tea whenever I can.
Nice. Okay, favorite way to relax?
Oh, it's the same. Cups of tea.
A walk and a cup of tea. I feel
two birds with one stone there.
We're simple creatures, aren't we? All right. Your final question. What is, I think we already answered this, your favorite thing about your business?
Oh yeah, my very clever clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe too, because you've got a trademark for 10 years, it means I've got these long-term relationships with
Yeah.
people, and I get to see how their business grows and changes. And I love it when they come back, years and years down the road, and they tell me where things are at. And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all of your incredible wisdom with us. If somebody does want to get in touch with you for that chat, which I highly anticipate there will be, where can they find you?
On my website, wintrademarks.com.au, they can book in for a chat on there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, I invite you to share the link with another woman in business or someone who needs to hear this message. Every woman we can support to grow a meaningful, profitable brand is another woman who is free to live a purposeful life for herself and be more present for her family. None of us are alone in the challenges we face in business, but the solution can start with a gift from someone else, and it could be a podcast episode just like this one. Thank you for listening.